Now, when a man pulls away or you go no contact, it's tempting to fill the silence with stories of why he left. Maybe you start doubting yourself, wondering if you weren't enough or if there's something you could have done differently. But here's the thing, when you stop chasing someone, you give both yourself and him the emotional space to reflect. First, space gives him a chance to miss you. When you're not constantly around, it's like removing a favorite song from your playlist. At first, he might not notice, but over time, he starts thinking about the melody, the moments, the connection, the feeling he had with you. That space allows him to remember what he loved about being with you. He reflects on your relationship, and that's powerful. Now, the second reason men come back is because your value rises during no contact. Think about it. When you're out living your best life, building your confidence and radiating independence, you become even more attractive. People are drawn to those who are secure, happy, and fulfilled on their own. When he sees that you're not pining for him but thriving without him, it can shake his perspective. Suddenly, the idea of losing someone so strong and independent becomes real. Which brings me to the third reason, fear of loss. This fear is primal. When someone feels like they might lose something they once took for granted, it jolts them into action. During no contact, a man starts questioning whether he made a mistake. He thinks, what if someone else recognizes how amazing she is before I do? That fear can be the catalyst that brings him back into your life. Curiosity and uncertainty also play a significant role here. When you aren't constantly updating him on your life, there's an air of mystery. What is she doing? Who is she spending time with? That curiosity can pull him back, simply because people are naturally drawn to the unknown. The moment you stop giving someone your energy, they start to wonder why. And often they'll come back just to find out. When you stop reaching out to someone and give them space, something powerful happens in that silence. It creates an opportunity for emotional reflection. When you're constantly present in someone's life, they don't have the chance to really think about what they feel or what they want. They might not even realize what they had with you because they're too caught up in the day-to-day routine. But when you step back and remove yourself from the equation, you create a gap. And in that gap, they have time to reflect. They start to think about the moments you shared together, the conversations, the laughs, the connection. It's easy to take something for granted when it's always there, but when it's gone, when there's distance, that's when they start to notice the absence. Emotional reflection is crucial because it gives a person the clarity to understand their own feelings. Without the constant presence of the other person, they are forced to sit with their own thoughts and emotions. It's in this space that they may begin to realize the importance of the relationship. They start to question whether they were really ready to let go, whether they truly appreciated the connection, and whether there's something more they could have done to make it work. This time away from communication also gives them a chance to see how life feels without you. Sometimes it takes that absence to highlight the positive influence you had on their life. They realize that their day feels a little emptier, their life a little quieter. They start to miss the way you made them feel. And during this reflection, it's not just about missing you, it's also about assessing themselves. They start to think about their own role in the relationship and what they could have done differently. The silence becomes a mirror where they can see their own actions and behavior. Maybe they realize they weren't as attentive as they should have been. Maybe they realize they pushed you away when they didn't mean to. Whatever the case, this emotional space allows for a deeper understanding of the relationship from both sides. In essence, giving someone emotional space for reflection is not about playing games. It's about allowing them the time to genuinely understand their feelings and decide what they truly want. When you're constantly there, it's hard for them to reach that clarity. But in the quiet, in the space that no contact creates, that's where the real reflection happens. When you go no contact, something interesting happens in the dynamic between you and the other person. Over time, they begin to perceive you differently. In the past, when you were always available or always reaching out, it was easy for them to assume that you would always be there. They may not have consciously thought about it, but your consistent presence gave them a sense of certainty. Certainty can be comforting, but it can also make someone take you for granted without even realizing it. But when you stop initiating, when you give them that space to miss you, your perceived value starts to shift. Suddenly you are not as predictable, you are not always there, and that creates a new layer of intrigue. People are naturally drawn to things that are not easy to obtain. It's a basic psychological principle. When something is scarce or harder to access, we tend to value it more. In the context of relationships, this principle works in your favor when you go no contact. By removing yourself from their daily life, you are no longer that constant presence they once took for granted. You have now become someone they might lose, and that change in perception increases your value in their eyes. It's not just about becoming elusive, though. During the time of no contact, if you focus on yourself, on growing, on thriving, you are actively raising your real value when they see or hear that you are living well without them, that you are happy and independent. It sends a strong message. You are showing that your happiness does not depend on their attention. This is incredibly attractive. People are drawn to those who are confident, who are living life on their own terms. When they realize that you don't need them, but instead you are choosing to focus on yourself, it creates a new level of respect and admiration. This perceived change in value doesn't just make them miss you, it also makes them rethink their own decisions. They start wondering if they made a mistake. They may have assumed that you would always be there, but now they are faced with the possibility that someone else could come along and recognize what they didn't. They start thinking about the qualities that drew them to you in the first place, and because they are now seeing you from a distance, those qualities may seem even more impressive. During no contact, you also stop giving them the validation they once received from your attention. When someone doesn't get that validation anymore, they start to seek it out. They start to wonder what's changed, why you're no longer engaging. This can trigger a sense of urgency in them. Suddenly they are not the center of your world, and that makes them reconsider their own feelings and actions. In summary, the period of no contact allows for a powerful shift in how you are perceived. You go from being someone who is always available to someone who has their own life, their own value, and their own happiness. That shift not only makes you more attractive, but it also forces the other person to reevaluate what they had and what they could lose if they don't act. When you go no contact, one of the most significant emotions that can arise in the other person is the fear of loss. It is a powerful emotion and often serves as a wake-up call that makes them rethink everything. When you are always present in someone's life, there is a sense of comfort and security that you will always be there. This security can sometimes lead to complacency. They might not consciously appreciate your presence because they assume that no matter what happens, you will be available. But when you remove yourself from their life or stop reaching out, that comfort and security are replaced with uncertainty. Suddenly you are not a guarantee anymore, and this creates a sense of potential loss. People don't usually recognize the true value of something until there's a chance they might lose it. It's human nature to only realize how much something means to us when it's slipping away. The fear of losing you can become very real during this time. This fear is not just about missing your presence. When you go no contact, one of the most significant emotions that can arise in the other person is the fear of loss. It is a powerful emotion and often serves as a wake-up call that makes them rethink everything. When you are always present in someone's life, there is a sense of comfort and security that you will always be there. This security can sometimes lead to complacency. They might not consciously appreciate your presence because they assume that no matter what happens, you will be available. But when you remove yourself from their life or stop reaching out, that comfort and security are replaced with uncertainty. Suddenly, you are not a guarantee anymore, and this creates a sense of potential loss. People don't usually recognize the true value of something until there's a chance they might lose it. It's human nature to only realize how much something means to us when it's slipping away. The fear of losing you can become very real during this time. This fear is not just about missing your presence, it's also about the idea that someone else might come along and take your place. They begin to wonder what you are doing in the time they are not hearing from you. Are you moving on? Are you seeing someone new? Are you happier without them? These thoughts can create a sense of urgency in them. The thought that someone else could appreciate what they didn't, or that you could find happiness elsewhere, is often enough to make them reconsider their actions and decisions. It's important to understand that this fear of loss doesn't just come from missing the good times or the affection. It also comes from the realization that they no longer have control over the situation. When you are always there responding, reaching out, or initiating contact, they may feel like they have control over the relationship, but when you pull back, that sense of control disappears. They are no longer the focus of your attention, and this can cause them to feel a sense of panic. Fear of loss is deeply connected to our need for security. When they start to feel that you are no longer a sure thing, it threatens that security. This fear makes them realize that they could lose something valuable, and that realization can lead them to return to you or make an effort to reconnect. They start to think about all the things they could have done differently to keep the relationship intact. This fear is also about regret. People don't want to look back and think they let something great slip through their fingers. Once they sense that they might lose you for good, it forces them to reflect on whether they are truly okay with that outcome. Many times, this is when they start to appreciate what they had and fear the possibility of regretting their decision. In this way, the fear of loss can be a major driving force behind why someone returns after no contact. It's not just about missing the relationship, but about the deeper fear of losing something that they once took for granted. It makes them confront their own feelings and often pushes them to take action before it's too late. When you go no contact, one of the emotions that begins to build in the other person is curiosity mixed with uncertainty. When you were regularly in their life, they knew what you were doing, they knew how you felt, and they had access to your thoughts and emotions. There was a certain predictability in that. And while that may have been comforting, it also meant they didn't have to wonder about you. Everything about you was available to them whenever they wanted it. But when you stop reaching out or engaging with them, that predictability disappears. Suddenly, they don't know what's going on in your life. They don't know what you're thinking, how you're feeling, or what you're doing with your time. That lack of information creates a sense of mystery, and mystery is something that naturally sparks curiosity. They start to wonder where you've been, what you're doing, and most importantly, why you're no longer giving them your attention. Curiosity is powerful because it taps into our need to understand what's happening around us. When you go no contact, you remove the certainty they once had about you. They may start to check your social media or ask mutual friends about you just to satisfy their curiosity. Even if they don't act on it directly, the thoughts about you will be running through their mind. That uncertainty about what's going on with you begins to pull them in. They are left wondering if you've moved on, if you're happier without them, or if you're seeing someone new. These unanswered questions can create a sense of unease in them because they no longer have the control or insight they once did. Uncertainty is also closely tied to fear. When people don't know what's going on, they often imagine the worst. In this case, they might start to think that you've found someone better or that you've moved on completely. That kind of uncertainty can make them feel vulnerable. It makes them realize that they no longer have access to your life and they're no longer sure if they ever will again. This curiosity and uncertainty can drive someone to return because they want to satisfy that need to know. They want to find out if there's still a place for them in your life. They might reach out just to check in or to see if things between you are really over. In many cases, they may not even realize that it's their curiosity that's drawing them back. They just know that something doesn't feel right and they need to find out why. What's interesting about curiosity and uncertainty is that they create an emotional pull without you having to do anything. Simply by stepping back and removing yourself from their world, you create a situation where they are left wondering. You don't need to reach out or explain yourself. The lack of communication does all the work for you. It leaves them with questions they can't answer, and that makes them more likely to come back and try to reconnect when you go no contact. The other person is given the space to step back and start reevaluating the relationship. In the day-to-day moments of a relationship, it can be hard to gain any real perspective. The constant interactions, the little disagreements, and the routine of being together often cloud a person's ability to see the bigger picture. They might not take the time to think about how they really feel or whether they are happy because they are caught up in the rhythm of the relationship. But when that rhythm is interrupted by silence, everything changes. The absence of contact creates a space where they can reflect on the relationship in a way they couldn't before. They begin to think about what the relationship meant to them and what they might have taken for granted. They start to see things from a distance, which often gives them a clearer understanding of what went wrong and what went right.